lot of the times it's the life that they want isn't conducive with maybe the relationship that they're in, or maybe the place that they're living, and it's some big thing that they think they can't change.
I do think that there's this part of the masculine spirit that wants to really know how far he can go in different areas.
The more you stay in integrity with yourself, the better off everything is around you.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Beardsmen. My name is Spence.
I'm Mink.
We're your hosts today. We got a legend in the house today. Excited to dig into this conversation. For those of you that don't know, Mink and I have been best friends for about 20 years, and we've been having a conversation around what it means to be a man in the world today. We figured we would just hit the record button and start sharing some of those conversations.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been 20 years. Every time we say that, I'm like, where the fuck does the time
It started
go?
at 10 and 11, all the way up to 20.
Yeah.
And man, time goes fast.
It does. So today we got our good buddy Adam in the house. Adam, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Looking great, bro.
Yeah.
Looking great.
That's mostly your guys' fault.
And I got to dig in because before we get into the good stuff, when it wasn't that long ago, literally just a couple months ago, he came in and he had his short beard. He was looking good, as dialed in like Mink's, and he walked through the door today just looking extra lean, jacked, and the beard just dialed.
This is what happens when you start taking care of your beard.
Ooh.
That's what I was telling a guy.
What's
this,
the secret?
Literally on Instagram the other day, we were chatting, whatever, and I was like, you know what really was the catalyst for this latest transformation for me? I was like, I started taking care of my beard. And he didn't really believe me. And it was a half joke because I had some other stuff going on that we've talked about before. Yeah. But it was right around then that I started taking care of that. And I was like, you know what? I wonder, I bet if I was a little bit leaner, my face would look better with this. I was like, I wonder if we shape it up and then we do the, and then it's a catalyst for other things. And the reason why I was using it as an example for the guy was, the conversation started about the beard. And I was like, yeah, man, when you start taking care of yourself in other areas other than just your fitness and stuff, you just naturally want to be more fit and more lean and stronger. And, because when you start to, you look at those standards you have yourself, right? And especially for guys, man, we have to have standards.
Totally.
And your current thing that you're doing is your standard. So like, people say, oh, raise your standard. It's like, no, what is your standard right now is what you're doing right now.
So true.
It sparked this whole conversation with the guy, and we ended up getting him on a program and stuff, and he's grown his stuff out. So I think he's a customer now too for you guys,
as he should be.
It's so interesting how I think it's maybe a little bit different for everybody, but there's certain things that are a catalyst for discipline, for growth, for transformation. I think we've all seen that video from the Admiral who talks about making your bed, right? Like the first thing you do.
Yeah.
And whether it's making your bed, whether it's a morning workout, a cold plunge, a beard routine, like I do think there's certain things that each man has to find and then integrate into his life as the first domino that knocks the rest
Carries
of them
the momentum.
down. Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
That it used to be, and this, we'll just jump right into it. That used to be something we learned from our fathers and from other men in the, tribe, quote unquote, right? And with the epidemic of fatherless homes, right? Including my own. I grew up without a dad, so we don't learn those things from the men that we're supposed to be around when we're younger, right? So it's the whole men's development space right now is guys trying to figure out those anchors, right? Things to anchor their day into, and it's what we're really missing is initiation, right? And those little things feel initiatory, and they feel like it's okay. It's like a rite of passage for me to do this. It's like growing a beard is like a rite of passage too. It's like, oh, I've earned this, right?
Takes work, takes
patience, takes time, takes a little bit of intent and intention behind it, right? So, or intent and intensity behind it, right? Because you get to a certain period with your beard, same with your body, you get to a certain period where, especially if you're going through weight loss or weight gain, you get to this weird intermediary point where the beard's itchy. It doesn't really look good. It's not long enough to cut yet. It's not, you know what I mean? You can't shape it yet. Same thing with your body. You get to this certain point where it's like, the skin's a little loose and I don't really see the muscle definition yet. And I'm not really feeling the benefit yet. And it's like, that's the point right there where we used to learn from our fathers and the men in the tribe. It's like, no, that's when you lean in.
Yeah.
Like that's when you lean in. And right now we're not doing that. All the guys right now that are, under 40 that grew up without a dad, including myself, leaned out. and not in a good way. Did not lean out in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, pun intended, right?
Lean out. Yeah,
we
yeah.
leaned out in the sense of like the guys start to remove themselves from the conversation. They remove themselves from the equation. They remove themselves from competition.
Yep.
They remove themselves from from society sometimes, right? And sometimes all the way to removing themselves from Earth.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
It's interesting, because what we're really talking about is that moment of confusion, discomfort, frustration, chaos,
Yes.
lack of clarity, whatever
Yes.
it is, right? We're all going through our different journeys. And inevitably, if we have a goal, body, beard, business, whatever it is, relationship, we're going to hit the wall of we don't know what we don't know. And at that point, that's the point you're talking about where it's like we have been whether it's like culturally conditioned, oh, it shouldn't be hard, it should be easy button here, do this, do that, or it's just a loss of a rite of passage or certain types of role models. But I mean, I've experienced it in certain ways. I
Totally.
think probably all
We all
have. And
have,
then
yeah.
we've for sure seen it in our friends, especially after we've learned this lesson of like, when chaos, when confusion, when a lack of clarity hits, that's when you need to go harder. That's when you double down. You lean in more.
Totally.
It's so interesting how it takes sometimes a lifetime for people to realize that. And what is that the cliche is like the best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is today. But so many people never get traction because as soon as they start to like hit the rocks that they're digging through, they just go find another hole.
Quit. It's easy.
There's a really cool story, and it's told in a handful of books that I just read. One of them was Iron John by Robert Bly, and I highly recommend that book to every dude. Great book. And another one was in, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the book now. Wild at Heart.
Okay.
Great book also.
Amazing book. And he told a story in Wild at Heart, and he was making parallels to Robert Bly's Iron John, but he told a story in that book about when his kid was climbing this rock formation, right? And it was like he got to this point where it became difficult. It got hard. He didn't know if he was going to be able to do it, and he just let his kid do it. He didn't say anything. He failed a couple times, and then as soon as he did it, as the author was like, I had a choice right then, and I knew that choice was going to shape my son forever. And he told his son, "You look like a wild man up there," and that was the catalyst, right, for his 8-year-old son. And every kid that grew up with a really good dad, there's a point in time where you get that, where you get that from the guy who you form your masculinity from, right? And that's the moment right there that teaches you that when those hard times come, to lean in. It's like, oh, I was a wild man up there. Like, oh, I get goosebumps when I think about
100%.
it because I never learned that.
Yeah, and I had my firstborn son 16 months ago, and it's like these are the things I read those books for that reason.
Yep.
Because it's so fascinating. You need the nurturing, loving, motherly energy and support for a young, small child.
Till about 8.
Till about 8, and it's like getting earlier based on the modern world we're living in. But there's a certain point in our culture where we haven't had that rite of passage. To your point, that intentional sequence of what it means to be a man.
Yeah.
Like when is it? Is it when you lose your virginity? Is it when you can drive? When you can leave the house or vote or drink alcohol? It's like, no, it's none of those.
None of those things.
Like you have to be taught, and you can't be taught by a woman how to be a man. You can't be taught by other boys how to be a man. You have to be taught by a man.
I got roasted by a ton of people on social media for saying that on a podcast 2 years ago.
Bring it on.
I was like, no, this is gonna be really bad. I was like, you as a single mom, you can't teach your son how to be a man.
Yeah.
You're not their father. And it was like, fuck you.
Yeah,
whatever,
and I give it up to all the
whatever,
single. I
like-
can't even imagine her begin to step in.
Yeah.
To know what that would be like, and
Yeah.
all the women doing a phenomenal job with the tools that they have.
100%. My mom did the best she
100%.
could. However, right, there was something missing. Masculinity cannot be bestowed by the feminine. It has to be bestowed by the masculine. Has to be.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way. Yep. And in Iron John, he talks about this tribe, and it's really cool. Right around 8 years old, the men of the tribe take the boys, right? And the women are in on it. They like cry and they're like, "No, don't take my son," whatever. And they like, it's to show the boy that like you're being torn from the feminine, and you're getting thrown into the masculine, and this is what it is. And as soon as the boy's gone, the wives all get together and like, did I cry enough?
Yeah.
Was it good enough?
Did he believe
Like,
it?
Did he believe it? Do you think he's missing me?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And we don't have anything like that anymore. Even the military is okay for it, right? But the military doesn't bestow masculinity, it enhances boyhood stuff. So it's like, yeah, you're following a structure and things like that, but it doesn't teach you how to be a man. It just teaches you how to follow orders, right? So it's like, it's okay, but there's something missing, right? There's that little piece missing at the end. The 4 archetypes of masculinity: the king, the magician, the lover, and the king, the magician, the lover, and I can't remember what the other one is. Anyways, king, magician, lover. Anyways, I'll remember it at some point during this. Yeah, we'll come back to it. But we get all of those, but the king, if we don't have a father, if we don't have anything like the military, will give you all the other ones. You'll get all the other ones, but you don't get the king. Even modern religion, you never get the king. You're always the subservient son. And before the New Testament, before I think it was like the 3rd century, there was everything in Scripture and ancient civilizations and everything. It told you that at the end you're going to walk with God, not below Him, right? And it was right around the 3rd century things started to, vernacular changed and language changed a little bit, and it became subservient son. So it's like all you have to, like, as a man growing up in this day and age, if you look at everything, you're looking at all these different ways. Well, maybe it's I need to be hyper Christian, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. Everything is showing you everything up to a certain point, but never shows you how to be sovereign in your own masculinity. So it's a big problem. Yeah.
It's super interesting. I went to Africa several years ago, did a little safari, and they took us to a tribe called the Maasai, which is one of the longest existing tribes in Africa that are living in kind of cultural terms. And they show you around their little village, and they've got these mud cow dung huts that they've built, and they took us inside of one, and then they told us about the rite of passage from boyhood to manhood. Have you heard this?
Oh yeah.
So essentially, the long story short is when they turn about 8, they put them out in the fields, and they're a cattle herding kind of tribe. So they don't farm, they don't hunt, they just have cattle. And so boys from anywhere from 8 to 16, their whole goal is to go and tend to the herds. Then at I want to say 16, and I think I might be getting the dates wrong, but essentially there's 3 phases. I don't remember the exact ages, so I don't want to butcher it. But the first phase is you go tend to the herd, and you learn how to basically follow rules. Then there's another phase that is, they call it the circumcision phase, where basically once you've done a certain number of things and you're going to go from a boy to a man, then at 16, they lay you down in front of the entire tribe and circumcise you. And the crazy part about it is if you flinch, if you make a noise, if you show any signs of weakness, it disgraces your entire family, and they end the ceremony. So if you start with your eyes closed, you have to sit with your eyes closed. If you start with your eyes open,
you're there.
You're there.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, and if you show any weakness, it disgraces your family. Let's say you
unmedicated.
Just
100%. Straight.
Yeah. So they do the circumcision. Then they take you into one of the huts, and for 7 to 10 days, you just lay in there and recover, and you drink cow's blood mixed with milk. Pretty solid diet, right?
Tasty.
But the
nutrient dense, right?
Yeah.
The point after
that.
The point after that is then they send you out into essentially the woods to become a Maasai warrior.
Yeah.
And so then you're out there training for a period of time. And then when you come back, now you're officially a man. You can take a wife, you can build a home. But they have this very 8 to 10 year-ish ceremonial process where you're becoming a man. And it was so interesting to hear him talk about it. And he was I'll never forget, he's sitting there and he's pain so bad, you feel it in the brain. It hurts. He's explaining to that feeling of
but taking it.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do, right?
To the point, people listening, everybody listening is going to be man, that sounds way too extreme. It's well, maybe, but our way is not working. Their way is working.
Yeah.
They don't have single moms. They don't have crime. They don't have anything. They don't have any problems at all. They don't have disease. You know what I'm saying?
So true.
Their society is thriving in their old ways like that, right? I wouldn't even call them old. This is age old. This is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
This is how men have become men for millennia. Like the original texts, the oldest ones that we found have been about like masculine initiation. Like, and we're doing it wrong. We're doing it way wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all the modern technology, it's like post-industrial revolution, right? You
Yeah.
look into when boys were brought up by their fathers or uncles or grandparents in the field working on the farms. Industrial revolution, men are going away to work in factories, and now they're at home with their mothers or whoever, and it's like that is like started this trend downwards over the last several decades. And it's only gotten more and more convenient where we aren't challenged physically anymore. And it's definitely an issue, which is honestly, candidly, why we wanted to start this podcast, to have conversations like this so we can figure out how can we make an impact to start swinging it back the other direction.
The main issue is for men is that they have not had an initiation into masculinity. And they might have had little snippets and little teasers of it, and they might have gotten little drops of it here and there, and they've based they've got an okay foundation of it, and they think it's like what it's supposed to be, but they never fully step into it because there's no final like go and be the warrior, right? You get the go and learn how to go out into the field and learn how to follow orders. You get the castration. You never get the end. You never get the actual initiation at the end, where it's like rite of passage at the end, right? So like you said, it's a whole process, and we're missing huge pieces of it.
And that's part of your life's mission at this point, right?
Yes.
I mean, this is kind of where you've been pointing your focus. I know we jumped right into it, and I love it. For the audience listening that maybe doesn't have the backstory, like, who is this fucking Jack guy telling me all this stuff? He's not talking out of his ass. He has a lot of experience here. Give us a little backstory, who you are, obviously. I mean, you've had high highs, low lows, Marine, leader, men's retreat. We've got a lot to unpack here, but give us a little backstory of what's led you to this point and your mission to help serve men and help guide men through this rite of passage. This is right in line with what you've been orienting your whole life towards, I feel like.
So there's a lot. And trying to tell a Cliff Notes version of how I became who I am is kind of insane. I like tell people I've lived 7 or 8 different lifetimes. Which is, I think everybody has, right?
Definitely.
I think
relate to that. 100%.
Everybody has.
In their own way, yeah.
But I've talked to so many guys who don't and haven't, and they're like, no, I graduated high school, I live in the same town that I've lived in, I'm dating the same girl that I dated in high school, I'm 37 years old, married a couple kids, like, whatever.
That's a wild, that literally just gave me goosebumps. Because
I've never done anything.
I don't stop to think about that.
And there's more guys out there like
so
that
true.
than there are like us.
Yeah.
I've been to 34 countries. I've been in the military. I've worked on fighter jets. I've been in the oil field. I've been homeless. I've been, you know what I mean? Like throughout the whole thing, right? I've started my own business. I own a piece of a handful of businesses now. I taught at a university level in California. I taught nutrition, physiology. Like I've done so many things in 37 years that it almost doesn't seem real at a certain point. Even to myself, I'm like, 10 years ago, I've always been doing fitness, but 10 years ago, I was working at National Personal Training Institute. I was teaching classes for $1,500 a week, and then a little bit before that, I was in the oil field. I was a subsea engineer. And then years before that, I was in the military. And then, you know what I'm saying? Years before that, I grew up as insanely poor, which is really funny to look back on now because I didn't know it. You never know. You had nothing to base your life off of. I just knew that some days we ate, some days we didn't, and it wasn't weird, And it was like my mom was doing the best she could, 2 different jobs and the whole thing, right? The whole story, so I think it really the whole where I'm at today started joining the military. I was either going to join the military or I was going to stay in the town that I grew up in and probably go to jail or be dead or something. I had a wrestling coach in high school that straightened me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because sorry, Mom, you're gonna probably listen to this. She listens to everything, but I was sneaking vodka and Gatorade in school and stuff like that. Sorry, Mom, again. And Gary Priester was the wrestling coach, and he would catch me ditching class and stuff, and he'd make me go to the wood shop because he was the wood shop teacher too, and he's like, make something.
He took you out to the wood shop, huh?
Yeah. So, anyways, he's the one that talked me to join the military.
Yeah.
And 6 days after I graduated, I went.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and if I didn't go, I wasn't going to go. So, Went and signed up for the Marines. I was like, what's the hardest one? It's like, cool, Marines. Like, let's do it. And spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, handful of deployments. And when I was getting out, it was almost like I was just getting out of high school again. It's like, wow, okay, well, that's over. Like, what do I do now? You know? And looking back on it now, it's like, wow, there was no initiation really. It was like, okay, cool. I have done all these things, and I've got all this weird trauma now, you know, that I didn't know it was trauma. It was like, I got all this weird trauma now, and I've got all this, you know, this traveling and all these things that I have all these lessons from that I didn't actually get the solution to the lesson. It was like reading half of a book and then putting it down.
Yeah.
And that turned into reading half of books and putting them down, you know? So for any guy that's listening right now, if you have a bunch of half-read books, go back and finish the books. Even if you think you got everything out of the book, go finish it. Because it's an analogy for your life. You probably don't finish anything, you know? And that was what I was doing. I wasn't finishing anything.
Yeah.
So after I got out of the Marine Corps, though, I went and worked in the oil field, became a subsea engineer, worked for a handful of years all over the world, doing blowout prevention systems and stuff like that, and kind of noticed I was just getting really unhealthy, and always had a passion for fitness, so I went back to school, went back to San Diego, went back to school, ended up working at the school, ended up teaching at the school, ended up being the assistant education director at the school, and then left that job to go make some money, went to construction, built almost all of the southern border wall from California to Arizona, which is a really cool project to be on, you know. And then January 2020, when Joe Biden got in, he cut that project. Everybody lost their jobs. And, you know, I was working, you know, paycheck to paycheck. Like, we were making good money, but it was paycheck to paycheck living in San Diego. So lost my job, kind of lost my direction, lost, you know, purpose, I guess. Because I didn't really have any purpose at the time. I was just working construction, right?
Yeah.
And because I didn't have that foundation of masculinity, it was never bestowed upon me. I lost everything. Slept in my truck for 6 months, and, you know, kind of just weaseled around, and you know, nobody knew it. I was like too embarrassed to tell anybody, and it actually took a psilocybin experience to kind of kick me out of that.
What's up, guys? Spence here, co-founder of Live Bearded, and we wanted to take a quick break to let you know that this show is sponsored by Live Bearded. Meek and I started Live Bearded back in 2016. We're on a mission to help beardsmen look, feel, and be their best. So if you find value out of the show, if you have a beard or know someone who does, do us a favor and share livebearded.com. Go to the website, check us out. We've got the best beard products money can buy. All right, guys, back to the show.
You guys want to talk about that? That was kind of crazy.
18 grams?
18 grams.
18.
Yeah, 18.
I had to look it up because I'm like, I don't even know how that computes. I know what a microdose is. I was looking at this, I was like, that's like 100 times what
Yeah.
it's like.
So speaking of you know, initiation, right? Some cultures use things like we were just talking about. You know, some cultures use psychedelics. Some cultures use, you know, medicines and things like that. And so I was in a hotel room in San Diego, and like used my last couple $100 to get a hotel room, and I had I don't know how I came across. I had it was chocolate bars, and I had dried mushrooms because I was doing some microdosing and stuff, and it was helping, you know. And I just got to this point where I was like, I'm just done, man. I don't know. I'm just gonna get this hotel room. I don't have any more money. It's like, I'm gonna get this hotel room, and I don't know, just eat all these mushrooms and find out what happens. You know, see what happens next. I don't know. I locked the door. I was listening to Terrence McKenna and stuff like that, and he was talking about heroic dose, right, being 10 grams plus.
So it's like 5 to 10, right?
Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm like 280, you know, it's probably going to take more than that. So I've got 18-ish grams. I'm just going to eat all of them. And so I ate all of it and laid down on the floor, turned all the lights off, and
Entered the twilight.
I time traveled.
Yeah.
This is actually this actually goes perfectly into the masculine initiation story, though, and it's going to perfectly kind of bring everything full circle. So I went, and during that experience, I visited my 8-year-old self, and it just, I didn't know it at the time, but 8 is that kind of around that magic number, right?
Yep.
And if you've ever read Iron John, you're gonna make the parallel immediately, right? I visited myself in visited myself as the wild man.
Yeah.
Like I was the wild man. I was like big bearded burly dude and I remember my hands. I was like, fucking these giant hands, and like I picked myself up and had a conversation with myself, and I get a little emotional about it still, but it was that the meeting of the wild man, the first time. Right?
Was the wild man a future version of yourself, or
Future
what you
version
could
of
be,
me.
future version of you?
It was
what you
my
could
it was
be.
my potential.
Your potential. Yeah.
Which is me now, which
Totally.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Because I didn't have I couldn't grow a beard back then, but I saw me now. Right. Same shape and everything, like same everything. Right. And I didn't realize it until I read Iron John a couple months ago.
Oh shit.
It's like, oh shit. Like I met the wild man. The wild man was me. Right.
Took you into the woods. Yeah.
And took myself in the woods and pointed myself in the first step of that initiation.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay. So I went and had a conversation with myself, apologized to myself for stuff, told myself that, everything's gonna be fine. Like, and then when I woke up, my whole life was different after that. Like, and nothing changed drastically. I didn't all of a sudden have a bunch of money or anything like that, but it was like, hold on a second. I'm in control. And I got myself here. So I can get myself out, right? And so it was a handful of months later, I ended up in Vegas watching, it was a strange turn of events afterwards. Things just started happening for me, instead of things happening to me. And I realized that once you take control of your life, things start happening for you instead of to you. I had an opportunity to watch a friend's house in Vegas, so I was no longer homeless. She didn't actually know I was. She was like, hey, I'm deploying. Can you watch my house? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And my dog, I was like, yeah, absolutely, I can do that. I have nothing else going on. She's like, wow, really? I'm like, yeah, come watch your house.
Sure.
So, went to Vegas and started doing some security contracting work. I worked in a couple of clubs and stuff doing security and stuff like that, and then decided to start my first business. And I, sleeping on an air mattress, and I had a little desk in the room that I was staying at her house, and I started building my own business. First business was called TBO 90. It was Total Body Optimization 90. It was like, I know how to do this really good. I'm like literally the best at transformation. So, even though I didn't look like it at the time, I was like, I know everything. Like I know how to do this for people. And so I didn't utilize social media basically at all. It was just like network referrals, people I met, stuff like that. And it got me to a point where it was paying enough of my bills that I could start to train again I was like, okay, I'm going to start training again. I want to do strongman again because I did that previously. It's like, all right, I'm going to, pull myself out of this. I started to get back in shape. I started, doing things like that. And that was when I met Justin. And I found his brand. I found the Earn Your Booze brand. And I was like, man, that really resonate with that. Cause like, I like having an old fashioned every now and then and like work hard, play hard. Like that looks cool. He was having awesome like pool parties in the yard. And like, I was like, that sounds cool. Like I want to do that, And just so happened we met handful of months later at an event in Vegas, and I had never left.
Yeah, and share that story. I want to expand on that a little bit because I know the backstory.
Yeah.
You didn't just meet at an event. I mean, you made it happen.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys will be like, oh, I could do this or I could do, but you went literally all in.
Yeah.
And share a little bit about that story
Yeah.
and how you committed to build that
Yeah,
relationship.
so Justin was doing an event in Vegas for the NFL, and I liked the brand a lot, and I already had it in my mind that I was going to work for him, and he didn't know it yet. Like, he doesn't know me at all. You know, I was like, no, I'm going to work for this guy. Like this, I'm going to do that. I was like, and I'm going to make it happen. And like instead of just showing up to the event and kind of being like, hey, introduce myself and kind of do like a whatever. I showed up full gear, shaking hands, kissing babies,
wearing his
Earn Your
gear.
Booze gear. Yeah, wearing the whole thing. Like I operated like I had already done it, and I was already there doing it.
Yeah.
And I stayed with him for 2 days for the event. I spoke on stage with him. That like the whole thing. He was just like, he was kind of blown away with me showing up and doing that. And I was like, he didn't know it at the time, but I was like, I don't have any other choice. Like it's this is what I'm gonna do, or like. What, I'm going to just sit in this fucking room and, do transformations for people. And I didn't know anything about social media. I didn't know anything about business at the time. I didn't know it. I was like, I'm making enough to eat, So I was like, no, I'm just going to make it happen. And this is what I'm going to do. So I showed up and We had a conversation at lunch on the second day, and I was like, I'm going to work for you. And he was like, yeah. It's like, I don't know how we're going to make that work, but I've got this idea for this brand called Earn It All, and let's do it.
Sick.
So 2 months later, I sold everything that I had. I owned a Harley that I owned outright from when I was working on the wall and stuff, and I sold it, sold everything, moved down here, moved into an Airbnb with no plan, and didn't know what we were gonna do, and that was like 3 years ago now. So
Sick. Went all in.
yeah,
Went all in.
yeah.
What was the most exciting and the most terrifying thing about just going all in like that?
I mean, the most exciting thing is that I'd never done that really. I'd always get to the middle of the book and quit, right?
Yep.
I'd always get to even a couple pages to the end and be like,
Got it.
I don't want to know how that ends, because if it ends, it means it's over. And you know, when something's over, that means like it's over, right? It's like that sucks. Like I had a really negative relationship with things being over, and that's not good, right? And that's something that I didn't learn from a father figure. Where it was like, no, you got to finish stuff, like, and it's little things, right? It's like, oh, you take the thing apart, you got to put it back together, you got to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And my brothers both had their dad. I had a different father, so they both had their dad. They both learned that stuff. You take something apart, you put it back together. Like I take things apart, and I'm like, what do I do now? You know, it's like I don't know what to do. So, but yeah. So I'd say the most exciting thing was like, I've never done that before. Let me try it. Right, let me see how it works out. And I don't think I was terrified at all. I don't think there was any. Cause when you go all in like that on something, it's like there's no other option. So it's like you don't even give yourself the option to be scared about anything. And it was like, well, I've already lived in my truck before, so what's the worst thing that could possibly happen?
Yeah.
I've already lived in my truck before and built my own business to the point where I can pay the bills and eat. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah. Break that down for us, because before the show you'd shared that one of our values at Live Bearded that you resonate with is whatever it takes. And how that parallels in a lot of ways with Earn It All, going all in.
Yeah.
And you'd said, like, people don't know what it actually means to go all in. Break that down for us.
Yeah, I think people get to, you know, I'll use the book analogy again. They get to the last 3 pages and they think it's good enough. It's like good enough can be good enough. And it's like not, I think that's a really negative way to think. I think going all in on something, if you really want it, you will let nothing stop you from having it. You know, I talk to guys all the time in our coaching program that they're like, this is the life that I want. And I'm like, cool. What do you think is getting in the way? And they start talking, and I can tell immediately what the thing is, right? And a lot of the times it's the life that they want isn't conducive with maybe the relationship that they're in, or maybe the place that they're living, and it's some big thing that they think they can't change. And I'm like, what? Well, I live in, you know, Ohio. I'm like, move. Like, well, I can't just up and move. Why not? Well, I own my house. Sell it. Like, I'm going to remove all these boundaries for you, because these boundaries are only in your head. And if you really want that thing, if you really want the life you say you want, right? If you really want the body you say that you want, if you really want the marriage that you say you want, if you really want these things that you say you want, then remove the boundaries. Or remove the not the boundaries, but remove the roadblocks.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of times those roadblocks are really fucking uncomfortable. Like, they're gonna be the most uncomfortable. It's like, well, so a lot of times the roadblock is you. Like, you are the roadblock.
Can't see it.
You can't see it. It's a blind spot, right? It's like, cool. Hey, you want to live at the beach? Go move to the beach. Well, I can't afford to live at the beach. Hey, you can. I lived at the beach for 6 months in my truck. Like, yes, you can. You know, it's like, if you want the thing that you say you want, you'll make it happen no matter what. But you don't actually want that, because that thing that you say that you want is not based on your opinion. It's based on what you think the people around you think that you want. Does that make sense? So it's like, I just put this like a free little guide out recently, and it was like how to live your best day ever now, right? And the first chunk of it is defining success. Because like, what does your best day ever look like? You know, and I ask guys that all the time, like, what does their best day ever look like? Oh, I wake up at this time and I do this thing and they name off a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, you could be doing 4 of those right now. Like, why aren't you like the best day ever? You wake up at 5. Why are you waking up at 6:30, 7, 8 o'clock? Oh, well, you know, I'm like, You could be doing that right now. You know, like, oh man, the best day ever example for me is like my best day ever. As of right now, for my definition of success, I can go to a coffee shop at 1 p.m. and read a book. And I have it scheduled into my day. At least 3 or 4 times a week, I go to a coffee shop at around noon and I read a book. I'm like, I made it. That's success.
Yeah.
You're like, man, that sounds like, that's a really weird, like, no, it's freedom.
Yeah.
Like I have crafted my day for one piece of the puzzle of what I think success is, right? So, you know, when you get these guys asking about anything like that, where it's like, oh man, you know, I feel just stuck where I'm at, or I feel this, or that. And it's like, all right, what is it? What even is success to you? You know, and most guys can't name it. They don't know. They're saying what other people have. They're saying like what the Joneses have, and stuff like that. And you know, that's another. It all stems back to the fact that we don't have masculinity bestowed upon us anymore by the masculine. It's bestowed upon us in the feminine. Social media, most of the things you see on social media are feminine. Most of the things that you know are around in society now are feminine. Most of the products that you put on, not your guys's, thankfully, but most of the products that you put on are feminizing you. Like everything is increasing the feminine energy for men right now, and it's like, man, how do we break out of that? You know,
It's so interesting. There's a couple of things I want to talk about with you guys from this conversation. You're like dropping so many really good nuggets. You know, one of them is just like kind of touching on that last point. I feel like one of the most masculine quote things to do, right, is be very decisive, very direct, like have a clear target. And to your point of like everything is potentially eroding that, we have more choices, more options than ever before. And I don't know about you guys, but I find myself in certain patterns, like, and this is a super simple example. What am I gonna do for dinner tonight? Fuck, I could go here, I could go there, I could do this, I could do that, I don't know. And then I've got like 2 places that I go to all the time. So whenever I'm like really tired of those 2 places, I'm like, fuck, what do I wanna do? I wanna do this one. And it honestly just kind of even starts to spin me out, like mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just make a fucking decision, Mink.
Yep.
Like just go, you know, and it's interesting. I've never really thought about it this way, but even just the sense of like, how would you describe feminine? It's like flow and just like very organic and all over the place. And how would you define masculine? Very direct, very targeted. And in this world that we live in, it's a very much a pull between the two, but almost everything is pulling us towards the direction of lack of discipline, lack of focus,
Distraction. Yeah.
ultimate amount of choice.
I personally define the feminine as beautiful chaos, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful chaos. Chaos is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It is a needed, required, and beautiful, like, amazing thing. But us men can't be there. Like, we can't be in chaos. We have to be even keel, no matter what, right? You got to be the rock. You got to be, you know. And it's like there's times to tap into and you know, feel that type of thing, right? The balance is there. It's not a 50-50 balance. You know, balance is never 50-50.
Yeah.
And you have to have a healthy, you know, dose of both things in order to have, you know, the triangle of masculinity, right? And I think everything is pushing us towards that feminine so much that everybody's in chaos. Your mind's in chaos, your body's in chaos, your bank's in chaos. I didn't do my taxes this year. Like everything's in chaos, and it's a very feminine place to be. And there's nothing like grabbing guys by the back of their neck and going, "Figure it the fuck out."
Yeah.
Like, make a decision.
This is interesting because
know?
I and you and I have talked a lot about this, but just like constructing a routine, right? You talked about your average perfect day. Like,
Yeah.
I think
We actually talked about it, yeah.
both have a very clear idea
Yeah.
of what that is. And I bring it up because I notice that even when I start to allow myself to slip in certain areas, like for me, a force multiplier for discipline is what time do I wake up? Maybe it's not that way for everybody. I don't know. For me, it is, right? And if I allow myself to maybe get a little bit more relaxed on the time that I pull myself out of bed because I've been traveling a lot or I'm running late or this and that, everything downstream gets a little bit more chaotic, right? My diet, right? If I am very disciplined with my diet, I still give myself a treat here and there. I have some fun, but like I'm in charge of it versus my cravings being in charge of it. If my cravings are in charge of it, there's a little bit more chaos, downstream impact. And so it's interesting. Regina and I, my assistant, we've talked a lot about like removing chaos from my life, because the more chaos there is, the less clarity I have and the less quality I can execute on things. So I do think, just as a man, understanding these two paradigms, whether it's like that masculine force or that feminine force, like we have to have some of both. We have to integrate them and know what that balance is. And again, balance is integration. It could be 80-20, 70-30, whatever it is, based on who we are. But I think every man has felt out of control at some point in time. And to your point, like, control is something that we always have if we take it.
Yep.
And I think the times where I've felt the most out of control, I've also felt the most weak or the most self-conscious. I've struggled the most intellectually, personally, emotionally. Similarly, on the exact opposite spectrum, like I bought an ice bath a while back, and I was like, I'm gonna do this every day. Like every day I'm here, I'm not gonna, no matter what. And I didn't even do it because I want to do the ice bath. I just did it because I hated the fucking ice bath, and I wanted to try to build that ruthless discipline. And I remember one morning I was like 75 days in a row. I had gotten 3 hours of sleep. I was fucking exhausted. It was 4 a.m. And I was like, this is the last goddamn thing I want to do.
Yep.
And I did it. And on the other side of that, honestly, I would probably remember that one day forever because I felt unstoppable.
Yep.
And it was only because I rooted out all chaos and I only acted upon what I said I was going to do for an extended period of time. And that exists for all of us.
Yeah, consistency is just integrity in action, right? And if you can stay consistent with something, then you are acting in integrity. And for a man, everything is about your integrity. And as soon as you start doing things that degrade that and erode that and start making promises to yourself that you don't keep, and it's all about yourself.
Yes.
Right? It's a very selfish thing, consistency and all that. It's a very selfish thing, but it then, you then can push that outward, right?
Yeah.
So the more you stay in integrity with yourself, the better off everything is around you.
Yeah. Hey guys, Mink here, and I want to take a quick break from the conversation to tell you about our sponsor, Live Bearded. Spence and I started Live Bearded in 2016, and our mission from day one has been simple. We want to help beardsmen look, feel, and be their best, both with their grooming and in life. And with that, that's one of the reasons why we started the Beardsman, because we love having these conversations about what it means to be a man today. So if you have a beard, if you want to participate in this conversation and you want to look and feel your best, go to livebearded.com, check out our products. I guarantee you will love them. And if you don't, we've got a 365-day money-back guarantee. But I promise you will. So check us out, livebearded.com. Now let's get back to the show.
One other thing to your point, there's a really, really good argument for having feminine things in our lives, right? Having women around us is very good. Going and getting a beer with your friends, that's a feminine thing because beer is like hops are estrogenic, right? It's not a bad thing if used properly, right? Nature is very feminine. Getting out in nature, going fishing. People think like that's like a masculine. No. That is you tapping into your feminine side. You going fishing, you going into nature, you going for a hike. Those are all very feminine energies, right? Because it's the earth. And there's a whole like book and structure about that. And most of the time we're getting that feminine from not great sources now, right? Like we were talking about. But I love what you said about consistency too. I want to touch on that. I've been doing 20,000 steps every day since February 17th, and I haven't missed. And there's been a couple of nights. Last night, I got my last steps at 11:58, 11:59. I was like making my Whoop like update when I was walking.
Refresh.
Yeah, I was like doing sprints outside. I'm like, come on, like trying to make it, And would it have made any difference at all if I got the last ones at 12:01? No. Would it have made all the world of difference to me?
To you.
100%. Because now I'm not in integrity. Now I didn't get them all in. Now I got 19,997.
Yeah.
And those 3 steps, that's in my life right now, in my current frame of mind, like those 3 steps are everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let it derail me because missing once is human, missing twice is a decision, right? So I'm never going to miss twice. I say this to myself every day that I wake up. I say, I don't miss. I don't miss. And if I miss, I'm not going to miss tomorrow.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
It's so cool to hear both you guys share similar stories of those last few steps in that day 75, right? To keep it, and it's really keeping the promise to yourself. I think that's where we talk about confidence all the time, like how as men can we gain confidence, and to me it is keeping that promise to yourself. You said you're going to walk 20,000 steps and you did it, and you felt like you were unstoppable because you woke up and did it when you didn't want to, because you kept the promise to yourself. And it's so true with that momentum that just continues, the confidence, the integrity, because you can walk with your head high and your chest up. It's like, yeah, motherfucker, I did what I said I was going to do. And there's so much truth to that. It's so simple, but it has such a domino effect in a positive way on everything else that you do.
Well, I would argue that probably two of the most important thing to men is confidence and integrity, right? And if integrity, what did you say? It's something in action. It's just
it's consistency,
in action. Yeah. I struggled almost my entire adult life with feeling confident and feeling good enough. And one of the things I try to do when I'm struggling with something is deconstruct it, so I can just like you take it apart and then I can put it back together. And so when you understand where confidence comes from, it comes from the root fidere, which in Latin terms means with trust. And so you could then assimilate that confidence is just with trust or trust in something, right? And so we all have confidence in different areas. And typically it comes from trusting that you know how to do what you need to do, or a level of competence. And so then I was like, okay, there's certain areas where I have built a lot of confidence in my life. What did I do there? Oh, basketball, sports, like growing up, I shot thousands and thousands of shots. So I had competence, and then that competence led to trust that then created, and I was like, shit, okay, so anything that I'm feeling like I'm not good enough or not confident in, I now have a fucking recipe. And it is just building trust in that area through a greater level of competence and consistency, as an example. So I think to that point, we could all get there our own way, right? We all have our own recipe for a lot of these things, but the first principles are all the same, right? And I think that's how, as men, you talk about the rite of passage and what it takes, and no one really taught us these things. I think there's some real just fundamentals that when you start to understand how to apply those in your life, you can, there's this, what's this saying? It's like, you have to follow the rules until you understand them so well that you can then break them, right? Whether it's with writing or music or whatever, there's kind of that sentiment of like, once you understand the rules of the game to the nth degree, then you can actually break them because you know what's going on.
Absolutely. It comes back to intent and intensity, right? If I get to a point where, 20,000 steps, for instance, and I had a guy ask, how long are you going to do that for? I was like, I don't know. I didn't put a time limit on it. I'm just going to do it. If I do it for the rest of my life, then I do it for the rest of my life. I like how I feel. I like the structure, However, if something changes, if my definition of success changes, which it will, which it always should, because when you hit certain goals, you have to have a new one. You have to have another goal. There's always another mountain.
Yeah.
And that's like, when I say that to some guys that we coach, they get scared at first. They're like, well, there's always another mountain. Like, well, that sucks. I'm never going to make it. I'm like, no, like that's the wrong way to think about it.
That's not the point.
That's not the point. You're going to make it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
You got to think of it that way. I'm going to get to the top of the mountain 100 times in my life versus there's another mountain.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that's a really crappy way to think of it. I used to think of it like that though. I was like, man, it's just the grind for my whole life. And when can I retire? And then I talked to my brother once, my older brother, and he was like telling me about his retirement account, how he's like preparing to retire. And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds horrible. Like, dude, that sounds like hell to me.
Slow death.
Like, it just sounds terrible. Like, I'm going to do all this stuff so I can just retire and do what? Wow. Where's the other mountain,
Yeah.
But back to my point, when you follow the rules for long enough, you can then break them, right? If you stay consistent and stay in integrity with something for long enough, you can then say, okay, I'm going to change this with intent and intensity.
Yeah.
So instead of doing 20,000 steps a day, I'm going to revert to 15, and I'm going to input something else in. I want to build a new habit. I want to build a new mountain. I proved that I could do 20,000 steps a day. I don't have to prove to anybody. I proved it I've posted it on my story every single day for myself and for everybody else since February 17th, and I haven't missed. Like, yeah, I can do 20K steps a day. Like, doesn't mean anything to anybody else, but it means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Because those little things, finishing the book, doing what you say you're going to do, doing 75 hard. That's why 75 hard works so well. Has nothing to do with the 2 workouts, has nothing to do with reading a book, has nothing to do with drinking water, has nothing to do with taking a photo of yourself. It's I checked things off for 75 days and I made no excuses for it.
Yeah.
And I proved to myself that I have integrity.
Yeah.
And that's a huge, huge lesson especially for a guy. When they prove to themselves that they have integrity, that's a major confidence boost. It's a competence boost. And when you mix those two C's together, I mean, man, that's a whole recipe for now I'm looking for the next mountain.
Give our listeners some advice maybe on if they're sitting here listening to this going, oh man, where do I start? I mean, when you think about when you're coaching some clients and you're coaching guys and they're like, my life's a shambles, I don't know where to go. What is some advice on how to just get started to build that confidence, to build the integrity, keeping your word?
You have to flex it every day, you know? And the easiest thing to do is find the lowest hanging fruit of something that you can make a promise to yourself of every single day and do it. And it can be as dumb as making your bed, or it can be as dumb as it sounds to, you know what, I'm not gonna leave dishes in the sink when I eat. Literally anything like any task like that you usually put off, if you just say, no, you know what, I'm gonna do that instead.
Yeah.
So you would say then let's just define that as impulse control.
Impulse control.
Or some level of follow through, right? And it's
follow
like,
through.
how do you build a habit? Do one fucking thing that you don't want to do for a period of time.
Yeah.
You know?
And I hate to say, like, it can't be that easy, right? It literally is that easy.
It is.
You know, I've worked with, I mean, at this point, over the last, from MPTI on, when I was training people myself and through our coaching and everything, I've worked with probably 5,000 guys total now. And every single one of them, it stems back to something simple. Everyone that has a positive transformation, makes positive change. I mean, we've had guys change their last name and start businesses and all kinds of crazy stuff, but we've also had guys that go, oh man, you taught me how to fish because I did some stupid little arbitrary task every day for 30 days. I don't need you anymore. Dope. Awesome. I love that.
Perfect.
Like, cool. I talked to them 6 months later and they're not in our program anymore and they're ripped, they're jacked, they're making more money, they're doing all these things and they're like, but they still give us the credit because I taught them to do whatever it was every day. And it's going to be different for every guy too, because like, you know, you can try the 75 hard, you can try making your bed, you can try, you know, try. That's what I had to do. But like, if I talk to somebody for 10 minutes and find out a little bit about their life, I could usually tell them like, hey, this is what we're going to do for the next 30 days or so. Just see how it works. Yeah. Like, go into it with no expectation. I'm not going to tell you why we're doing it, you know, but I want you to send a gratitude text every day. You know, and that works for a lot of guys where it's like, it's really hard to do that. You know, for a lot of dudes, like send a dude a gratitude text. Don't send it to a woman. It's really easy to do that. Send it to a dude. And not a dude that you know really well. Yeah. Be like, hey man, I know we haven't talked in a long time. Super grateful for, you know, the friendship that we've had and stuff like that. Send that off. And that works really well. Love that. Just arbitrary, anything, it's
less about what it is.
It's less about what it is and it's more about doing it. Yeah. You know, and I mean, the book one has been huge. I ask a lot of guys that. I'm like, how many books do you have on your shelf right now that you haven't finished? They're like, oh, I don't finish any. I just get to a thing that I take action, and then I take action on that thing. It's like, I don't need to read the rest of the book. And I hear that from some of these gurus out there now, too. I'm like, you have boundary problems. Like, I guarantee that you have boundary issues in your life because you can't finish things. And, like, I call it out every time. Yeah. Like, they probably don't have a good marriage because they don't have good boundaries. Come to find out, like, right? They're actually going through divorce. They're doing, you know what I'm saying? It's like, finish your books. Yeah. How is that going to help my marriage? It's like, finish your books. And come back to me in 3 months. They're like, that changed everything. I'm like, yeah, weird. It's not something you learned out of the book either. It's just now you finish things of it. Yeah. You know.
On that topic, I want to touch on one last thing before we jump off. In our previous conversation earlier, we were talking about the power of going all in. And I think that I've heard it said that, you know, every man, like at some point in time, probably has an innate desire to be pushed beyond his limits or to find out what he's capable of, whether that's in you know, a metaphorical life or death situation, physically, financially, in a relationship. Like, I do think that there's this part of the masculine spirit that wants to really know how far he can go in different areas. And I think in the modern world, one of the best ways to do that is to find something and then make the all-in decision, right? To cut off from everything else, whether that's marriage and parenting, whether it's starting a business. Because I know all three of us, relatively well, we've all had our own moments of going all in on something. And I'd love to hear maybe one of yours, and just like what you learned from that and how that might be one of is it one of the singular biggest points of growth or transformation or opportunity?
Men discover who they are at the edge, and they're never going to know who they are, and they're never going to know their name, quote unquote, for the people that are just listening and not watching, right?
Yeah.
Doing air quotes. They're never going to know who they are, really, if they don't go to the edge. And you can find that edge in a bunch of different ways, and men find that edge in a bunch of different ways, right? We do ultra marathons, we do cold water stuff, there's all these different ways to do it. There's more ways to do it now. And going back to your point of like decision making, right?
Yeah.
There's more ways to do it now that less guys are actually doing it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, just sign up for the thing, sign up for the race, sign up for a Spartan. Oh, well, Spartan's dumb, I don't want to do that. And it's like, no, you're just afraid that you don't know what your edge is, you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
You have no idea who you actually are when things get really difficult. And I want to one example. We have a men's retreat that we do in Sedona, handful of times a year.
Yeah, break that down a little bit. Go ahead. Yeah, share more about that.
And one of the things that we do is, I don't want to give away the farm on it, but I'm going to tell a little bit about it. It's very difficult. It is the rite of passage at the end. We switched it up. We used to not do it at the end, but now we're doing it at the end because it is the ultimate like rite of passage for a lot of guys. It was for me when I first did it. And it's a purification lodge. So we essentially do it's not a traditional sweat lodge, but we do a version of that we've created on our own. So it's like a sauna, except for, what's the hottest sauna you've ever been in?
Like
200 degrees.
Yeah.
So if I brought a thermometer into the last purification lodge that we did, it was probably 280 in there. It was skin meltingly hot, like
humidity,
and it's humid.
Yeah.
It's smoky.
Yep.
It's because we bring in these rocks that are glowing red from the fire, and bring them into the middle, and we've got 30 guys in this thing in this hut that we make, and we put some sap and things on there to create the steam and all this stuff, and we pour water on the rocks, and it gets so hot in there that. And we do, a couple of rounds. We do a handful of rounds, and it is a rite of passage for most dudes because it brings them to their edge and sometimes a little bit beyond. Obviously, everything's safe and everybody's has water and stuff like that. We've got guys that have CPR and all that stuff. We got an AED on whatever. It's totally safe. However, it is one of the most impactful ways that you can find your edge, because a lot of guys have done a sauna, but they've never been in a situation where you're with 30 other guys and it's so hot that you think that death is coming for you, and then when you get past that 15-minute mark and that 20-minute mark and we open the door and ask you to go outside and none of the guys want to leave, they're like, no, I want to stay in, close the door. I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's close the door. We close the door back up and we go a little bit longer, open the door again at the end, and you get a couple of guys that'll trickle out. But the guys that get it, the guys that really get it, they're like, no, close the door. I'm in. Like I want to see where this edge goes, right? And it's the same thing that happens when you do anything that's really difficult, right? It's the same thing that happens when I talked to a guy that walked across America, which I'm going to do in the next couple of years. I'm going to walk across America. So super side note. And he's like, I got 2 months in. I was in wherever he was, Duluth, Minnesota, or whatever, wherever the heck he was. And he's like, yeah, I'm just walking. But he goes, the level of solitude. He did it with no phone, no one. He's like, the level of solitude pushed me to my edge so hard that I almost went crazy. It's like, but I found the edge, and it was like the most beautiful thing that I've ever experienced. And that's the only way that I can explain finding your edge to a guy who's never done it before. Is like, it's the most beautiful experience you'll ever have, is knowing what you can do, knowing where you're gonna break. Martial arts is great for it. Jiu-jitsu is great for it. Anything that's going to push you to that edge and then show you what's beyond it a little bit, and it moves the edge a little bit. And you get to move the edge a little bit. You get to move the edge a little bit, and it's the most beautiful experience ever. So, competition does it.
Yep.
You know, Spartan races can do it. Whatever. I mean, it's just do something that is going to push you to the edge, make you find your edge, and find out what you're made of. And you're not always going to pass it. A lot of times you're going to fail. That's part of it, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's all part of it. Because when you fail at something and then you come back and do it, we had a guy come to 2 retreats in a row, and you know, he failed at some things the first one, and he owned them.
Showed
on the
back
second
up.
one.
Yeah.
Showed back up, and it was like, he's like, that was the greatest experience of my life was the first one when I failed. It's like, because I found out where my edge was, and it was not very far. You know, so. Hopefully that answered your question.
That's awesome.
In a
Sick,
weird roundabout way. Yeah.
Yeah. While we're talking about the retreat, I know we haven't really fully formally shared what it is.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of backstory on Earn It All, True
Yeah.
North, what you guys are doing, the impact you're making.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, the main business, Earn It All, we do men's coaching specifically. We just changed that recently. We used to work with men and women, just, you know, fitness and nutrition and habits, and, you know, came from the Earn Your Booze life and stuff like that. And Justin and I both have been going through this development stage in our lives where we want to help men. Very specifically, we want to help men because it's so needed, and especially the things that I've been going through personally, and just it's all been pushing the two of us in that direction, and we kind of, you know, we had some friction towards it at first because it was like, well, you know, we don't want to just close off a whole section of people, you know, but it's not really our mission. So our mission is men. We met another guy named Amadon at an event, and he owns a property in Sedona. And we decided that we were going to do this retreat together because he's very passionate about helping men as well. And we did our first one last year and packed it with 30 guys. And we had 30 insane testimonials. We're like, we got to do this again. And it was the most, we didn't make any money, which is great. And that's not what it's about at all.
For you.
Yeah, and it was like, we got to do this again. We got to do this as much as possible because, you know, getting the guys in there in person and watching the transformations of the guys over the 5 days that we have them it's incredible, and it fills a very selfish cup for me. I grew up without a father, and I also can't be a father. I have a brain injury, so I can't have kids, and so it fills this. You know, every man gets to a certain point in their life where they're like, you know, I want to have a son, right? I want to have kids, right? And I got to that point and I had to pass it because I can't do that. And that was a big missing piece. So this you know, helping men like this selfishly fills a huge, you know, part of my purpose. And you know, doing the retreats is I don't care if we ever make money with it, honestly.
And what I love is you guys don't just host them. Like you're in the trenches.
Oh yeah,
You're with
we do
them.
the whole thing. Yeah.
Tell us why is that so important?
There's a lot of these like masculine retreats and masculine camps and stuff like that where, you know, you go to them and it's like the guy is standing on top of the thing and they're just screaming at you and stuff like that. And it's like, that's the first 3 layers of masculinity where you have to learn how to follow directions. You have to learn how to follow order. Most guys have that from a job, from society. Most guys have that. We don't need to yell at anybody. They need to see somebody leading, and they need to see somebody who is doing it with them so they can emulate, right? And that was one of the most powerful things for me, seeing that. And all the guys' testimonials were like, it was crazy that you guys did everything. Like, you did the purification lodges. You were the first one to jump off the cliff into the, you know, we did cliff jumping. We're going to do it again this summer in July. 9th to 13th is our next one. We do cliff jumping, you know, 30-foot cliff. We're the first guy, straight off, you know, and it's like, gotta show these guys what's possible for them, you know, and we're the first ones to share when we do, you know, when we're speaking and stuff like that. We're the first ones to do everything, and it's like, no, this is what leading is. Like, we're not going to lead you from the top of the thing and tell you that we're the thing that you have to, you know, strive to be. It's like, no, we're all in the trenches together doing this, you know. So there is certain separation that has to be made for certain. We don't live with the guys in the house that they're in. We're in a different house because, I mean, we're up for 3 hours after they all go to sleep, you know, planning the next day and making tweaks and stuff like that. So But that's what being a leader is all about. So the retreat's really a passion project for us. So
Love it, bro.
So the main business, Earn It All, we do coaching. We have a community type level of coaching where I'm actually really stoked. We just finished it a couple months ago, and I basically could have 10,000 guys at that level, and every single one of them is going to get an insane journey, and they're going to get it's just crazy what we've built at that level. I have a one-on-one coaching level up from that, and partnered with a clinic. So our clinic does their entire health side. So it's like full optimization, one-on-one. And then we have an elite level for that as well, where we're doing genetics, epigenetics, gut health, the whole shebang. And then we've got the retreat. So the retreat really is the initiation and the rite of passage. Because some guys come into the retreat first and then they go into coaching. Sometimes some guys come into coaching, then they go to a retreat. But anybody that works with us, I'm like, you need to come to a retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and there's ways to get them there, right? We have a scholarship fund. Some guys can't afford it.
Yep.
We've got a scholarship fund. A lot of the guys that come to retreats will pay for another guy. They'll put in the scholarship fund and be like, I want to pay for somebody I don't know. Like, this was insane. It's actually really hard to get guys to come to a retreat though. Because they think like, oh, I don't need to, whatever. Like, if we were doing retreats for women, we'd have them packed out every month.
With the beard, definitely.
Yeah. We're like, we have the wives of the guys ask us, like, we want to come and do what they did. We're like, no, you don't. Like, we wouldn't even know how to do that. They're like, we don't care. We want to do, the whole thing. It's like the guns, the shooting, the cliff jumping, the stuff, all of it. And I'm like, all right, like, I don't know how to talk to you though, because I'm not a woman. So
different language.
They're like, we don't care.
Different
We're going to come
language.
do the fun stuff. All right.
That's awesome, bro. Well, where can the guys give you a follow? How do they tune in to what you guys are doing?
Yeah. We've got a podcast. It's Earn It All Podcast. We've got that. You guys were on. We've got the coaching page. It's earnitall.com, earnitall.us for the brotherhood stuff. TrueNorth.men is the retreat page. And then my personal stuff is THE_Adam Nail. So,
Adam Nail.
Awesome, bro. Awesome. Thanks for coming and hanging out, and thanks for honestly like just being like a servant for men. It's like it's amazing to hear your passion coming from a place with no father and really living all the different experiences that you did to then be able to turn that into something that is giving back and serving in a way that maybe you didn't have the opportunity to receive. I think is incredibly powerful, and I'm glad to be on the journey with you and to be able to support you and participate to some degree. So thank you for everything you do, man.
Guys are hurting. We're hurting right now, and not in a I'm wounded and pity me kind of way, but we're hurting.
Yeah,
and it's
lost.
in turn it's hurting society.
Yeah,
and it's hurting our women, and it's hurting the kids, the next generation, stuff like that. Like we are the reason why things are the way they are.
Yeah.
And we need to take full responsibility for it, because if we had better men leading better men and leading better families, societies would be better. That's just the way it
Downstream
is.
from there.
So
Yeah,
Take
100%.
all downstream. So.
Yeah. All right, guys, give him a follow. He's the real deal, bro. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate all you're doing. And we still don't have an outro for the podcast. So.
At this point, I don't think we have one. I think we just say thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. If you need anything, let us know. Until next time.